Hey now, it's your Brother Marcus with another edition of the Elements of Inspiration Brother Marcus show. Now, I want to share something with you today because this is, let me just be very clear. This is the Element of Inspiration, quicker picker upper. So get this, all right? And, I want us to kind of look at things from a different perspective today, all right? When we look at our lives, we look over the things that we've gone through, the things that we've experienced, right? Some of us, we always continue to look back. The title today is Don't Look Back, the danger of returning to what broke you. See, the strongest recommendations for each and every one of us is to remember that we've got to move forward. Don't look back, all right? That's dangerous sometimes when we get stuck in looking back. I want to share this. There's going to be some moments in this segment where some of you are going to be like, man, this is powerful. Some of you might get a little bit of, emotional. But I'm going to give you some biblical foundations as well to help you to understand how relatable this message is to you, and all of you. So listen, let me do this. I want us to take a deep breath. Breathe, all right? Reflection can teach us a lot of things, but returning to destruction can destroy us. See, some people, they're revisiting old relationships, old situationships, old habits, old pain, old environments, old mindsets, because they are familiar with that familiarity, and it breeds comfort, right? It makes you feel comfortable. But we need to realize that that is so unhealthy. And God calls each and every one of us to heal, grow, prosper, and move forward, not live entrapped in yesterday. It reminds me of that song by the Beatles. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Y'all remember that song? So do I. Oh, how meaningful that song is, of course. But I want to share something with you. I'm going to give you some biblical foundation. In the book of Genesis, chapter 19, verses 26. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Now, what are you talking about, Brother Marcus? Well, y'all know the story of, Lot and his wife, right? And, when God was getting them up out of that area where they were from, she was specifically told, do not look back. Lot's wife, she physically left Sodom, right? Sodom and Gomorrah. And many of us, we physically leave that abusive relationship, that situationship, that old habit, those drugs, whatever it is, right? But mentally and emotionally, she was still connected to it. And most of us find ourselves connected to something from the Wayback Machine. And sometimes people will leave physically, but their heart is still living in the past. That's what I want us to be very careful of. In the book of Philippians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, the word of the Lord says, brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straightening toward, what is ahead, I press toward the goal. And that's what we need to do. We need to push towards the goal. We need to continue to move forward. That's what we all need to be doing. See, Paul was trying to teach us from a biblical perspective, that, purpose requires forward motion. You cannot fully embrace your future, and also be emotionally encamped in the past. The past is not the present, nor shall it ever be. So that's why I got to share with you some element of inspiration, quicker picker uppers today. Give you 7 little things that I kind of want you to put it in your backpack and take it with you. And when you feel like you need to take that step back, I want you to kind of rewind this and play it again and again and again and share it with someone. Here we go. Looking back, it can keep you emotionally trapped. Don't be so emotional, okay? Some people, they revisit old wounds because their pain becomes, it became familiar to them. And sometimes people, they'll continue to run into toxic places because healing feels unfamiliar. It feels foreign. So you can't boldly walk into your future while dragging yesterday's memories and baggage, behind you. You can't do it. So sometimes people, they're addicted to memories instead of, committed to growth. You know what I mean? They're stuck there. They're sitting there. They're, this person, they did this to me. They said that they would never leave me. They said that they love me. And in life, things change. People change. Things shift. And I'm praying that as we're listening to this, that we would learn how to supernaturally, spiritually pivot, and that it will manifest itself into the physical, or in our physical life that we live every day. So there's a difference between, learning from the past and living in it, right? See, reflection, let me be clear. I'm not saying forget about yesterday and your past. No, reflection is good. Reflection is good. There's nothing wrong with reflection, but repetition is dangerous. So reflection says, what did this teach me? What did this teach me? Repetition, let me go back to what hurt me. And that's what repetition does. But God allows reflection for wisdom, not for destruction. So this is why it's important that you and I, we're supposed to gain wisdom from, the situations that we've gone through, from the fire, from the pain, from the setbacks, from the hurt, not move backwards into a burning house. No. We got to get up out of there. All right. And so familiar pain often feels, it feels safer, right? It feels safer than unfamiliar growth. Because with, familiar pain, you already know what it is. You know what you're going through, but you're not sure of what tomorrow will bring, what the future may hold, what growth can bring. So some people, they will turn back to their, unhealthy relationships and habits and old environments because they already know what to expect, what's already there. Listen, man. Growth requires uncertainty. Healing requires courage. Forward movement requires faith. So the unknown future can feel very scary, very foreign, but it is still better than the guaranteed destruction of the memoing of your memories and going back and camping out and all of that foolishness and going back to that nonsense. Looking back can, it can make you miss, some things that are ahead. Definitely. Absolutely. When your focus stays behind you, you become blind to the opportunities in front of you. The enemy wants people to be distracted by regret, guilt, nostalgia, all of that stuff, right? And emotional bondage that will never allow you to discover your purpose if you allow yourself to stay stuck. We don't do that here. We move forward. You cannot drive forward or toward your destiny while, staring into the rearview mirror. Why? This is not a judgment. This is just putting the facts on the table and saying, you know what? We've all been there, done that. And so we all got to grow from that and learn from that. The past should be a lesson. And it's okay. We all have a past and we're all learning. The past is where we learn how to navigate and grow and know what to do and what not to do. It's not a permanent address for your mind. It's not a permanent address for your future. What happened to you, it does matter. No one is saying sweeping it under the rug and forgetting about it. No, that's why I always have, a moment with the therapist on a radio show and things of that nature, because I want people to get help. Therapy is necessary. Cognitive therapy is necessary. We need to get therapy. What hurt you? Yes, it was real. It was real. It happened. Whatever happened in your life, it happened. No one is saying that it did not happen. You felt it. You went through it. But the pain cannot become your identity. Now, I do sometimes see people, they express themselves on social media and they're putting their business out there. And I understand it. It's very therapeutic. But at the same time, being very therapeutic is tearing down other people. Is that therapy or is that lashing out? I don't know. And I'm not here to kind of differentiate the two. But I want us to know that when we're healing, we need to heal with people that can help us heal properly. The past, it may explain you, but it does not have to define you. You're bigger than that. You're greater than that. You're smarter than that. You're powerful than that. You've survived it. So, if you've gone through it, you grow from it. You're not built, how can I say this? You're not built to fail. You're built to succeed. You survived it, so you can grow from it. Not build a home inside of it. No, that's not what we do. We sit there and we learn from the lessons, good, bad, or indifferent. God calls us forward, not backward. Through scripture, God's consistency, he consistently and constantly calls people into the next. What is the next? The next level, the next season, the next assignment, the next purpose, and even into the next blessing, okay? Now, the children of Israel, they struggled because they kept, wanting to go back to Egypt. Y'all remember that? They wanted to go back to Egypt because, for them, they kind of knew what it already was. And Egypt, even though Egypt represented bondage, it's what they knew. But we've got to get up out of Egypt. Real talk, true story. Some people miss freedom because slavery became so familiar. Now that's a hard one right there. Let me say it again. Some people, they miss freedom because slavery became so familiar. And we don't want to get familiar with things that are hurting us, things that are tearing us down. We've got to be moving forward, not only physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to leave everything behind in that place. Yeah, that's sometimes the hardest thing to do is, you got to leave that mindset that's attached to places and people and situations. I know that it is difficult. I've been there before. When you hold on to something and you know that that's something that you're holding on doesn't care about you. Healing means thinking differently. Yeah, that's why we got to get therapy. Choosing differently. Yeah, that's why we got to stay prayed up and say, God, not my will, but thy will be done. Believing differently. God, increase my faith where I don't have enough of it, increase it. And expecting differently. I want more for me. I want more for you. We want more. Your future cannot fully, open up until the old mindset closes. So why do people keep looking back? That's like one of the number one questions, right? You know what I mean? Why are you going back to him? Why are you going back to her? Why? Tell them that it's human nature? No. Why? Because people, they fear change. All right? The fear of change, emotional attachment, trauma bonds. Now that is a tough one. Comfort zones, low self-worth, low self-esteem. Some people, they're dealing with, the fear of failure or that nostalgic feeling. I remember when I remember and I remember how it used to be. The lack of vision for the future. So people can also, they can often go back to what they're not fully healed from. They'll go back to that a lot of times, right? But we've got to know that we are healed and ask God to heal us so that we don't have to go back there. We don't have any reason to go back there. So some people are not trying to move forward because forward requires responsibility. It requires accountability. It requires healing and change. Looking back can become an emotional escape. It can, from the work that is required to grow. And we need to grow. Every day we're going to grow whether we like it or not, and whether we like it or not. Life is moving. Things are happening. People are becoming more seasoned. People are growing gray hairs and all of it. Life is going to continue to be lifing. And what are we doing? So we can't look back. The past is just a chapter. It is not your conclusion. Every pain and every moment that you've gone through, it taught you something. It taught me something. But it is never meant to imprison you. So we've got to learn from it. We've got to heal from it. We've got to grow from it. Don't go back to the very thing that God delivered you from. Deliverance is awesome and powerful. So I want to say this. The future awaits us all. We can't stay in the Wayback Machine and remember, in that remember when machine and going back to the things that tried to destroy us and hurt us and make us look crazy and embarrass us. No, we can't. We have to understand that we've been through enough and you were once there, but you're now here and you're moving forward and your focus should now be on where you're going. That is today's Element of Inspiration Quicker Picker Upper. Remember to share this with somebody that is always kind of going back and feeling like they need to stay in the Wayback Machine. Do not look back. Don't look back because you're better than that.